Welcome to the deep dive. You sent us what you're reading, maybe what's caught your eye, and we dig into it, pull out the key stuff to get you really up to speed fast.
Exactly. And today, we're diving into some really compelling material you shared.
Yeah, it all centers around this pretty powerful experience.
It does. We're going to explore heroism, leadership, all through the lens of a visit to Robin Island.
Mandela's former prison.
That's the one. And it's sort of guided by the experiences described in these excerpts and the thoughts of this figure they call the spellbinder.
Okay, the spellbinder. Sounds intriguing, like someone who's really thought about what makes people tick, what makes a leader.
Precisely. Think of him that way. So the source is excerpts from a chapter focusing on this specific visit.
Got it. Okay, so let's set the scene. The chapter opens at the V&A waterfront in Cape Town. You can almost picture it, right?
Mm-hmm. Very vibrant.
The Cape Wheel, yacht racers buzzing about, fishing charters.
Yeah.
It sounds like a real hub.
Totally. But then you get this little jolt.
The liability waivers.
Yeah, and the safety briefing. Suddenly it's like, okay, this isn't just, a casual boat ride.
Right. They're taking a helicopter.
To Robin Island.
And that contrast, wow. The description of the island itself.
It's stark, isn't it? Barren, shark-surrounded, ominous looking.
Yeah, really sets it apart from the lively waterfront. And it immediately brings home the seriousness of the place.
Especially when you remember, this is where Nelson Mandela spent 18 of his 27 years in prison.
18 years.
Yeah.
Incredible. So who's actually on this trip?
Okay, so there's a billionaire, an entrepreneur, and an artist.
An interesting mix.
Yeah, and the billionaire, he's wearing this cap. It says, "To lead is to be of use."
Huh. Okay, a bit on the nose maybe, but telling.
Right. And there's this brief little interaction at the helipad. A woman asks him about the hat. It's a small detail, but it sort of paints him as thoughtful.
Like he's already processing the significance of where he's going.
Exactly. The text mentions he's thinking about apartheid, calling it this inhumane and evil system. You can tell the visit means something deep to him.
Okay, so they get in the helicopter. How's the ride?
Well, the pilot is apparently silent, which adds to the mood, I think.
Yeah, a bit intense.
It's quick, only 5 minutes, but sounds pretty rough. Strong winds, sea swells.
Not exactly a smooth ride.
No. And then they land, and this scene unfolds that sounds almost unreal.
What happens?
7 springbooks just appear, then it starts raining, and then a double rainbow.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and apparently this connects back to some other magic they experienced earlier in Mauritius, according to the chapter.
So it feels kind of symbolic, predestined almost.
Well, the artist immediately says, "We've definitely entered the magic."
Right.
And the billionaire's reaction is noted too respectful, but with this sort of undercurrent of sadness, they're definitely feeling the weight of the place.
Okay, so they've arrived. They're taking in this strange, powerful atmosphere. Then what?
Then things get, let's say, dramatic. An old pickup truck comes racing towards them, kicking up dust.
Oh.
Yeah, security guard jumps out, and he is not happy.
Yeah, what's wrong?
He's basically saying, "What are you doing here? The weather's bad. The ferries are stopped. No helicopters are supposed to land." He's surprised, maybe a little suspicious too.
Okay, so they're technically not supposed to be there.
Right. But the silent pilot, remember?
Yeah.
He handles it, stays incredibly calm, walks over slowly.
Doesn't escalate things.
No. And he explains why they're there. Very specific. They want to see Mandela's cell, and the place where Mandela's manuscript, his autobiography, was buried in the garden.
Wow. Okay, so a very clear purpose.
And he adds this layer, saying they want to learn from Mandela's suffering, but also from his forgiveness. It's quite a statement to make to an angry guard.
Yeah, it shows real, quiet confidence. A kind of leadership in itself, maybe.
I think so. And then comes the big reveal.
Oh, one.
The pilot turns to the billionaire, Stone, and asks, "Wouldn't you agree, Stone?"
Okay.
And then he slowly takes off his face guard, his sunglasses, his helmet.
Don't tell me.
It's the spellbinder.
No way. The pilot is the spellbinder.
Yep. The billionaire, the entrepreneur, the artist, they're just stunned, completely floored.
I bet. That changes everything. So this wasn't just some random pilot. This whole thing was orchestrated by him.
It seems that way. It suddenly feels much more like a deliberate, guided lesson, not just a tour.
And the guard?
Huh?
How does he react to finding out it's this spellbinder guy?
Well, here's another twist. The guard is actually a huge fan of the spellbinder.
You're kidding?
Nope. So instead of kicking them out, he actually helps arrange a private tour, gets the prison opened just for them, even though it was closed due to the weather.
That's incredible. Talk about a fortunate encounter. Or maybe not entirely fortunate if the spellbinder planned it.
Hard to say for sure, but it certainly adds to that feeling of, being guided.
So they get inside the prison. What's the description like?
Eerie. Sterile fluorescent lighting. Not a welcoming place.
I imagine not. And who shows them around?
Their guide is a former political prisoner. He's
Hmm.
got this gruff voice, but you can feel his deep respect for Mandela. He calls him a humble servant.
Humble servant. That's powerful.
And the guide shares some really interesting insights into Mandela's way of leading, even in prison.
Like what?
He apparently always asked fellow prisoners, "Are you learning?" He had this philosophy, each one, teach one.
Ah, so education was key for him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He saw it as, quote, the ultimate highway into freedom. Not just personal freedom, but collective upliftment.
That makes sense. But the guide must have also shared some of the hardships, right?
No, definitely. Stark details. The back-breaking work in the lime quarry, the constant degradation, the guards trying to humiliate them.
It sounds brutal.
There's even this horrifying detail about Mandela being ordered to dig his own grave at one point and then being, well, humiliated over it. Just awful.
God, it's hard to even imagine.
And it leads the billionaire to make this observation. We all have our own Robin Islands.
What do you think he means by that?
I think it's an analogy, right? We all face our own kinds of prisons, our own major struggles or confinements, maybe internal ones, maybe external ones.
Yeah, that resonates. It kind of prompts you, the listener, to think about what your own Robin Islands might be and how you navigate them.
Exactly. In Mandela's story, his resilience offers, well, maybe not easy answers, but certainly inspiration.
Did they mention other personal costs?
Yeah, the guide mentions Mandela's deep regret over not being allowed to attend his eldest son's funeral. That really hits home the human cost behind the icon.
Just layers of sacrifice. So then they get to Mandela's actual cell.
Yes, and the description is just stark, tiny,
How small?
like incredibly small. No bed, just a small wooden table, concrete floor, a thin brown woolen blanket. That's it.
Wow.
And the guide details the conditions, especially in the first year. No long pants, even in winter. Just shorts and a thin shirt.
In the cold.
Yes. Being watched naked by guards while showering, awful food, letters heavily censored or just withheld. It was all designed to break them.
A systematic effort to dehumanize.
Absolutely. But here's the crucial point the guide makes, and it's really powerful. He says the prison, this awful place, it became Mandela's crucible.
His crucible, like where he was forged.
Exactly. Instead of crushing him, the mistreatment actually forged his natural power, highest humanity, and fullest state of unstained heroism.
So the suffering transformed him.
Profoundly. The guide notes he went from being a, quote, hot-headed, angry, hostile, and militant young man into the Mataba the world came to revere.
It reminds me of that Desmond Tutu quote.
Suffering can either embitter us or ennoble us.
Right. And Mandela clearly chose.
He chose to be ennobled, Madiba.
And this is where the spellbinder steps back in, more formally, right, to offer his own lessons.
Yes, drawing directly from Mandela's example, but broadening it out. He talks about what the best men and women, the real world changers, have in common.
Okay, what are those common threads?
He lists things like vision, courage, integrity, prudence, which is interesting, humility, positivity, and relentless service.
Prudence, like careful judgment, wisdom.
Yeah, I think so. Thinking strategically, maybe, even under pressure. You can really see all those qualities in Mandela's life, can't you?
Definitely. Vision, courage, integrity. Relentless service, for sure.
And the spellbinder makes this really important point. Leadership isn't just for famous people or people in high positions.
He says it's for everyone.
Leadership is for everyone, regardless of your job title or circumstances. It's about how you live your life.
And he uses some strong imagery, doesn't he? About breaking free.
Oh, yeah. Releasing the shackles of blame, chains of hate, leg irons of apathy, and prison bars of ordinary. It's a call to start limiting ourselves.
Prison bars of ordinary. I like that. It's
Yeah.
about rising above the mundane, the expected.
And he connects it to daily discipline. He mentions waking at 5 a.m., something Mandela also did, apparently, to unfold our genius, develop our talents, deepen our character, and escalate our spirits.
So that consistent daily effort is key to transformation.
That's the message. He gets quite passionate, urging them and us, really, to escape our private jails.
Our mental prisons.
Could be. And he warns that gifts and talents neglected become curses and sorrows. That's quite a heavy thought. It makes you reflect on your own potential, doesn't it? Are you using your gifts?
It really does.
Right.
Okay, so inside the cell, there's another symbolic action.
Yes. The spellbinder places this thing called the heroic human circle framework on Mandela's small table.
What is that? Do they explain it?
Not in detail in these excerpts, but you get the sense it's a model, maybe a diagram, outlining the elements of a heroic life.
Okay.
And he uses this analogy of life being a walk to freedom, like Mandela's long walk. Even when everything seems against you, the call is to model grace, to show love.
Keep walking no matter what.
Right. And this leads him to talk about legacy. He calls it the territory called legacy.
Okay, the territory of legacy. What's the idea there?
He makes this distinction between tourists in that territory and citizens.
Tourists versus citizens.
Yeah. Tourists are people who maybe think about their impact occasionally, fleetingly. But the citizens, the lifetime inhabitants, those are the heroes.
The ones who are fully committed.
Exactly. Their mighty mission, as he puts it, was to live for something bigger than themselves, to leave the world brighter.
And the billionaire chimes in here.
Yeah, with a comment about expiration dates, a reminder that our time is limited.
Which adds urgency to the spellbinder's message.
Totally. He urges them to commit, fully become sublimely creative, pristinely productive, decadently decent, and of service. Big words, but a powerful call.
Stop postponing mastery, he says. Resist the negative stuff.
Yeah. And then the moment in the cell ends kind of unexpectedly.
Oh.
Mr. Riley, that must be the entrepreneur or the artist, gives this brief yodel.
A yodel? Seriously.
Apparently. But it's described as leading to this moment of mutual respect. Maybe it broke the tension. Hard to say exactly, but it feels like a release.
Huh. Okay. A uniquely human moment in a heavy place.
Yeah. And then the spellbinder sums up his definition of leadership.
What's his takeaway?
It's about inspiring others by how you live. It's about stepping into forgiveness, removing mediocrity from your life, turning terrors into triumphs.
Translating heartbreaks into heroism.
Exactly. And just being a force for good. He frames it as this grand invitation to lead.
An invitation open to everyone.
That's the idea.
And the chapter doesn't end there, right? It brings it back to Mandela himself after prison.
It does. It highlights these incredible acts of forgiveness after his release, like inviting the prosecutor from his trial.
The man who tried to put him away for life.
Yes. Inviting him to his presidential inauguration, and also inviting one of his former jailers from Robin Island.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's genuine forgiveness in action, not just words.
It really is. And it underscores Mandela's own words about needing to leave bitterness and hatred behind. He said if he didn't, he would still be in prison.
Mentally, emotionally imprisoned.
Right. And he spoke about freedom not just being about casting off chains, but living in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others.
That's a much deeper definition of freedom.
And there are other quotes, too, about hate being learned, while love comes more naturally to the human heart. Powerful stuff.
Yeah. And there was that small detail about the billionaire connecting with Mandela's routine.
Oh, right. The 5 a.m. wake up and exercise just shows how these examples of discipline can resonate across totally different lives.
And the guide's final thought is mentioned again.
Yes, reinforcing that central theme. Mandela's suffering didn't embitter him, it ennobled him.
It made him Madiba.
Exactly. And then just a final picture of his release being offered the warden's house, but choosing to walk out, refusing a car on the day he's freed, making that symbolic walk.
Walking to freedom, literally and figuratively.
Right. And it connects back to his famous speech from the dock during his trial about his ideal of a democratic, free society, the ideal he lived and was prepared to die for.
So, wrapping this all up, what are the big takeaways from this deep dive?
Well, it's just packed with insights, isn't it?
Yeah.
Profound lessons on leadership, definitely. Seeing it not just as a position, but as a way of being.
Resilience, too. I mean, the sheer resilience of Mandela is almost unbelievable.
Absolutely. And the power of forgiveness, how choosing it can be liberating. And then this whole idea of legacy.
Thinking beyond just the day-to-day and considering your long-term impact.
Right. That territory called legacy.
So for you listening, the connection seems clear. Reflecting on those Robin Islands in your own life.
The challenges, the things that feel like prisons, maybe internal, maybe external.
And thinking about your own potential for, well, maybe not world-changing heroism like Mandela, but heroic action in your own sphere.
Small acts of courage, integrity, service, they all add up.
Yeah, that's the crucial link, isn't it? So that final thought to leave you with, what territory of legacy are you in right now?
Are you just a tourist passing through, thinking about it now and then?
Or are you working towards being a citizen, a lifetime inhabitant, actively building something positive?
And maybe the question is, what's one small, significant step you could take, maybe even today, to start building that brighter legacy?
Something concrete. A really powerful question to ponder.
Definitely something to think about.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive.